About a week and a half ago was July 4th, Independence Day for the United States of America. While fireworks and flags abound on this holiday in honor and celebration of the USA, I couldn't help but notice that many people I know were not feeling particularly patriotic this July 4th. And this is completely understandable. We as a country are doing some absolutely abhorrent things right now. So I really get the tendency to want to speak out and to want to distance ourselves from that. I'm not particularly proud to be an American right now. And my guess is I'm not the only one who feels that way. However, as much as I can call any place home, this country is it. I'm not indigenous. My people are immigrants to this land. So it is not mine, but I am its. I don't own it, but I am of it. And I am an American. Now, I found myself a bit at odds on July 4th, trying to reconcile my American identity with the lack of pride that I was feeling towards my country. And part of why I was having trouble identifying as a patriotic American is as much a problem with the word patriotic as it is with being an American. In our current political climate, the concept of patriotism, it seems to me, has been co-opted. While I have always understood it to mean love of one's country, I often hear self-described patriots using the term to promote the very ideologies that I find so abhorrent and believe to be ruining this country and many lives in it. And so if my ideological opponents are claiming patriotism, then I want nothing to do with it. And then I had what I thought was a clever idea. I would do just the opposite of distancing myself from patriotism. I would attempt to reconcile my own negative feelings towards this country by reclaiming patriotism. And that, Reclaiming Patriotism, was the original title and idea for today's sermon. I was really excited about this thought, and I was eager to share it. So when I told Susan Peck, our director of music, what I was planning to talk about, the cringe that I received was not exactly the reaction that I was expecting. See, I had naively thought that the problem with patriotism was with who was claiming it and using it. But Susan pointed out that the word itself and the very concept of patriotism is problematic. Once pointed out, it seemed so obvious that I don't know how I missed it before, but patriotism comes from the same Greek root as patriarchy. They're both related to male dominance, ownership, and control of land and social systems. So as it turns out, patriotism isn't really worth reclaiming. We can just go ahead and give up on trying to be patriots. The other side can have it. And while that's one less thing to fight about, there's still no shortage of conflict in America, and I have to say, it's getting pretty ugly. So we're in the middle of an uncivil war, a war of words and attitudes and sometimes physical violence. Now, there's some speculation that an actual civil war may be on the horizon for us. And I think that's a little extreme. But the fact that the idea is even being tossed out there does speak to how deeply divided we are ideologically right now as a country. And on this subject of being divided, Abraham Lincoln had some famous words. Prior to our actual Civil War, Abraham Lincoln delivered his House Divided speech in 1858 on an issue that threatened to divide the country at that time: slavery. And in the speech he said, "A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure, permanently half slave and half free. I do not expect the Union to be dissolved. I do not expect the house to fall. But I do expect it will cease to be divided. It will become all one thing or all the other." And ultimately, he was right. The issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863 legally ended slavery everywhere in the United States, and 2 years later, in 1865, the war ended with the Union remaining intact. I think the chances are good that we will avoid another civil war. But the level of vitriol that we've seen between ideologically opposed groups may have some of us wondering what job prospects in Canada look like. And I'm not going to lie, sometimes I think back fondly on my trip to New Zealand last year and think, yeah, I could raise sheep. But then I recall the words of Universalist minister Clarence Russell Skinner, who said, "Those who have faith in the world are the ones upon whom rests the tremendous responsibility of redeeming the world." And that's us. Unitarian Universalism calls us to have faith in the world, and therefore the responsibility rests on us to redeem it. When it comes to our country, that responsibility is the same. We are called to redeem it, not run from it. It's not easy. In fact, sometimes it's downright dangerous. German theologian and pastor Dietrich Bonhoeffer grew up in Germany, but went back and forth between the United States and Germany to teach. When World War II broke out, his friends and colleagues in the United States tried to get him to stay safely away from Germany during the war. And at first, Bonhoeffer agreed. But after only a few months, out of a sense of duty, he changed his mind and returned to Germany. In a letter to friend and fellow theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, Bonhoeffer wrote, "I have made a mistake in coming to America. I must live through this difficult period of our national history with the Christian people of Germany. I will have no right to participate in the reconstruction of Christian life in Germany after the war if I do not share the trials of this time with my people." This one doesn't have a happy ending. Bonhoeffer was executed in Germany when his plot to assassinate Hitler was discovered. But this was a person who felt such a strong call to redeem his country that he sacrificed his safety in the United States and ultimately lost his life doing what he thought he must to save his country and his people. Now let me be very clear. I am not advocating for violence as a means of fixing our problems here. But what I am emphasizing is the commitment to care for what we love. And Bonhoeffer loved his country enough to return to it, even when it was dangerous to do so. I see another more recent example of someone who so loves his country that he's willing to make sacrifices to redeem it. In the fall of 2016, professional football player Colin Kaepernick opted not to stand for the national anthem during a preseason game. When asked about it, Colin said, "I'm not going to stand up to show pride in a flag for a country that oppresses black people and people of color. To me, this is bigger than football, and it would be selfish on my part to look the other way. There are bodies in the street and people getting paid leave and getting away with murder." Kaepernick then began taking a knee as a form of silent protest every time the anthem was played throughout the rest of the season. The next season, no NFL team would sign him to a contract. Partway through his protest season, Kaepernick pledged to donate $1 million of his own money to nonprofits who support oppressed communities. Despite not earning an income in 2017, since no one would sign him, Kaepernick made good on his pledge, completing his final set of $10,000 payments, $10,000 donations in January of this year. Gave away $1 million. Now, leaving the country is only a possibility for those with enough financial and social mobility to do so. For some people, this country is the only option. There is no choice about where to live, only how to make it wherever they are. Colin Kaepernick had it made. He was a starting quarterback in the NFL with a multi-million-dollar contract. If he wanted to get out of the country that he feels treats people of color unjustly, he could have been on the next flight to anywhere in the world. Instead, he has suffered incredible financial and personal losses. And he has drawn sharp criticism from many, but perhaps most notably from the President of the United States, who suggested that Kaepernick, quote, should find another country that works better for him. In response, Kaepernick said, "It's a very ignorant statement that if you don't agree with what's going on, hearing that if you want justice and liberty and freedom for all, then you should leave the country." Right? Yeah. Going on, he says, "He always says, 'Make America great again.' Well, America has never been great for people of color. And that's something that needs to be addressed. Let's make America great for the first time." That, my friends, is spoken like somebody who loves his country. On July 4th, I did not feel proud to be an American. But as much as I am not proud of my country right now, I love America. And if I don't care enough to stick around through the difficult times, I certainly can't expect anyone else to, and I certainly don't get a say in how we rebuild it. And this is what Clarence Russell Skinner is talking about when he says, "Those who have faith in the world are the ones upon whom rests the tremendous responsibility of redeeming the world." So will you join me? Let's redeem. Let's rebuild. And let's make America great for the first time